Hi, this is Peter and welcome to the second video on how to upgrade your peer group. Now in the first video, just a very quick recap, we covered three main things. The first was why we should upgrade our peer group, and we really talked about the law of conformity, or the 95% law, and essentially you become who you hang with. So if you want the fastest way to be able to change the circumstances of your life, change the people who influence you consciously and unconsciously, i.e. those you surround yourself with. We also talked about know what kind of peer group you want to join or create, because otherwise the default thinking is, I just know that I want to be not where I currently am, and you can't drive to a destination by trying to buy a ticket to not here. And then the third point we covered really was bring your A game. What's the best of who you are to show up, so that you can therefore invite people from a position of power and strength and bringing something to the table, or you can go and knock on a door of an existing peer group and actually leading with your best foot to be able to contribute something of value first before you knock on with a begging bowl saying, please let me join because you're better than my current peer group. So there are three primary criteria, and that's really based, same as this video, around a lot of the things I teach on my Elite Mentorship Forum, which was a peer group that I designed to create specifically because I couldn't find anything in the market that really fit the criteria of how I think a peer group should really show up. And so I designed it from scratch, and really what I want to share with you on this video are some other things that I teach my EMF or Elite Mentorship Forum students that you can apply now, or you can use as a selection criteria when you're going out to choose who you want to go and upgrade your peer group to. And the first thing I want to share with you on this video is really a tip on how to go about it the right way and the wrong way, because I've made a lot of mistakes when it comes to this. And I'll share with you a quick story. When I was 17 years old, many years ago now, was when I really first was introduced or started to learn or understand the power of the law of conformity. I mean, it literally is the river that you're currently in, and you can swim against the current for a while, but as soon as you relax or drop your guard, you will start to adapt and conform to the direction of the current, which is the people that you're around, surround yourself with, and the behavior that they exhibit, their thinking patterns, their beliefs, etc. And so when I started learning this, I looked at the people that I was hanging around with. Now, I used to drink in a little bar. I used to play pool for a living when I was 17, and I remember looking at my friends there, and they were kind of the guys I went to school with and hung out with at the time. And I asked myself the question, where do I think I would be and these people 20 years from now? And the image that was coming to mind was not the image of where I actually thought I would design my ideal life to be, if you know what I mean. And so I made a decision at that point that I was going to upgrade my peer group. I was going to change. And so what I did was I decided that the people in my existing peer group weren't good enough, and I wanted to go find better people to hang with. Now, can you already start to see a mistake happening here? I was essentially ostracizing the people that I sort of grown up with and was sort of hanging around with, because I invalidated where they were. And this is the first mistake a lot of people make when they go to upgrade their peer group. They invalidate the people that they are currently surrounding with. And I've got news for you. If you invalidate anyone, if you have the audacity to judge people on where they are from a superior frame, which is nothing but ego, then the energy that you carry with you is going to attract the next wrong peer group. And what I did is I said, these guys are no longer where I want to hang out. You guys aren't good enough. You're not cutting the mustard. And so I went to find a couple of more upscale bars to go and hang out with, to try to make some new friends. And I'd park my little crappy Mini around the corner so no one would think I hadn't got any money. And I'd go in my best Topshop cheap suit, well, kind of my only Topshop cheap suit at the time that my mum bought me for a job interview when I was 17, which luckily I didn't get. And I thought, if I ordered a tonic water and put a wedge of lime in it, it would look like a gin and tonic, which is a drink everyone else seemed to be drinking in these higher class bars, but I couldn't afford. And so you get the picture. I'm sort of walking around holding this fake drink, wearing a cheap suit, having told my friends that I'd grown up with that they were no good, and hoping that somebody would accept me into a peer group. And let's just say I didn't make many friends. But as I said, one has to understand that you have no right to invalidate anybody on their own journey. If you feel a calling and you're lucky or grateful enough to have access to some insights that say, you know something, I want to raise my standards a little higher than where I've been settling for to date, then don't use that as an excuse to come across as more superior, more important, better than any of the people that you were with previously. That's a fast track to creating division and essentially standing on a tall ego chair that's very easily kicked from under you when we take our eye off the ball. As I say, love the people you're with. Choose a better group, and when I say better, I don't mean better by invalidating the others, better in line with the goals and aspirations that you're aspiring to. Everybody is where they're at and usually okay with that because it's part of their own journey. So first things first, don't invalidate the people you're currently with. Wish them well, bless them. If you feel that they would benefit from a higher peer group themselves, then be the person that you want to inspire them as. Be the invitation by showing up, not by telling them that they're not as good. And that'll save you a lot of heartache. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, but what about my family? I don't get to choose my family. Well, if you want to go on to a different video subject, then we can talk about my belief around why we choose our parents, which whether it's true or whether it isn't, certainly takes away the blaming of parents that seems to be an international epidemic for why I should hold on to my story that my life isn't where it should be. But that's another video. So if you're people in terms of the family that you don't get to choose to not hang around with, then same principle applies. Love your family. They are who they are. They're clearly there for a reason. And if you didn't get to vote on it consciously, and then accept the fact that at some level you may vote on them unconsciously. And sometimes we can appreciate people for giving us the example of who we don't want to be. But that doesn't mean to say we shouldn't validate them with love, caring, affection, empathy, humility, compassion. There for the grace of God go I, as is said as a common phrase when certainly I say to myself when I walk and see somebody who is on the surface less fortunate to have circumstances than for example I have, or I certainly wouldn't want to trade. So but there for the grace of God go I. It could just as easily be me in any other circumstance. So be careful about judging. So love your family. There's not a lot else you can do with them, and then choose the people that you want to spend time or hang out or associate with over and above that, without invalidating the people that have helped you get to where you are right now. So that's the first tip on that. So in terms of the right and the wrong way to go about trying to either leave the current room that you're in or knock on the door of the next room you want to go into. Now the next thing I want to share on this video is probably my single biggest criteria and tip for showing up as that invitation is one word, one character trait, that if you embody this, everything about you shifts. Everything about the perception other people have about you shifts. And that is something that is so, I think, critical that I devote an entire module out of the 12 modules that we go through on the Elite Mentorship Forum over the 6-month program that I designed that to be. And that is the word authenticity. Now, there's been a lot of talk about authenticity. A lot of people use it as a way to try to show up. And there's very little authentic teachings that are out there on how to be authentic. A lot of people are chasing their tail on it or giving it meaning which I feel not quite hits the mark. So let me share with you what my version is. Because again, I don't claim to have all of the answers, but I have an answer that works for me and certainly for our group. And I'd like to share that with you because there may be some insight in here that can help you in the maze of what being authentic means. When one shows up as authentic, what it really means is that there's no hidden agenda. You're not willing to compromise who you currently stand for. Now I say currently because 5 years from now you may be standing for something different. That's okay. Part of the authenticity of life is not being wedded to a belief system for the rest of your life. That's something to think about, and again, something we drill down into in terms of how you show up. But being authentic means that essentially you cannot be manipulated by anybody else's agenda that you're trying to fit into in order to get the usual suspects: approval, connection, validation, significance, acceptance, all of that stuff. The other person who it's almost impossible to be manipulated by is yourself. You know, when you're authentic and you're standing there, what it essentially means is I'm independent of the good opinion of other people, and therefore I'm not going to be this chameleon where I'm adapting my own sense of who I am, my behavior, my story, my language patterns, to try to get something from you, again, whether it's approval or whether it's a business deal. You know, I mean, we all want to be in business with somebody who's authentic, do we not? You know, I want to be in business with John because I can rely on John. He shoots a straight arrow. There's no hidden agenda. I know where I stand. Yeah, that's who we want to be in business with. That's who we want to be friends with. We don't want to be in business with someone who, I'm not sure if I can trust him. There's just something about him. Yeah, it's just not quite right. You see, we have this constant radar that picks up on the vibe of inauthenticity. So how does one become authentic? Well, again, here's one of the biggest traps in personal growth and personal development. We run around trying to be authentic. Now, the presupposition when we try to be authentic is we aren't currently authentic. Yeah, see that? So rather than understand the truth that we're actually born authentic, yeah, animals don't have hidden agendas. Animals show up as animals show up. And if that means that they fall out with you or they don't, or each other, you know, temporarily, then that's okay, because they're only being who they are. We show up, and as soon as we feel that in order to try to get love, connection, approval, validation, significance, and all the rest of it, we have to be a certain way, then now I'm filtering, and that's where we lose authenticity. So being authentic is our natural state, it's a birthright, which essentially means that in order to be authentic, we don't try to chase it to become it. Authenticity is not about trying to achieve a certain place that we're not. It's about removing the obstacles that prevent us from being authentic. In other words, taking away what is inauthentic in our lives. And if you can focus on that distinction, you've got a shot at being able to show up without, you know, worrying if somebody's going to judge you for it, because you don't make any apologies for who you are, not because you don't care, because you're arrogant about other people's opinion, but because you're so solid in your values that drive you, and you know, providing that means that nobody's less than because they cross your path, you're not going out deliberately to try to, you know, screw people over, then you're very happy to stay grounded in what you believe to be the pathway to live the best and most authentic life that you can live. So showing up authentically when you are either looking to create a new peer group by invitation, or you're looking to be invited in, or is probably the biggest skill set, the biggest character trait, the biggest area of focus that I would look at, rather than try to see what you bring to the table in terms of your business contacts or your skill sets or any of that stuff. All of that is secondary to who you show up as. And that's probably the biggest takeaway that I could give you on this particular video. Now, on video number 3, the next video, I'm going to share with you the keys to how to select either a mentor or a peer group if you don't want to invite or create one yourself. How do you go to join one? What are the 3 or 4 things that you should really be focusing on looking at before you go to the market and start knocking on doors or assessing different options to go and really surround yourself with people who are in alignment with who you are and where you want to go? And I've got some great stuff I want to share with you on that. But in the meantime, go and show up as authentically as you can. Go and love the people who are currently in your current peer group, and start focusing on where do you think that you want to be 20 years from now, and who you'd need to surround yourself with in order to help you get there.